Good morning, everybody. We're live here from the birdhouse, and today we're talking about uh, lots of warblers and then some of the other migrants people are getting in their backyards. And people are having really, really good luck this year, it seems, with having a huge diversity of birds in their backyard. So, myself included, but you guys are all sending in your photos not only of the Orioles, the hummingbirds, and then lots of people are getting those rose-breasted grosbeaks, white-crowned sparrows, white-throated sparrows, and they're kind of just hanging around. So it's been a really, really good year for most people in their backyards. That being said, we're still in the height of migration. So if you haven't seen some of these yet, there's definitely still time. As always, we love to know what kind of things you're seeing. You can post your sightings in the comments. If you have questions, you can put them in there as well, or you can just say hi. If you are local to the area, we will be hopping today for Mother's Day. We have all kinds of gifts for mom, and we'll also have birds from Wild Wings here today from 11:30 to 1:30. And they're going to be having songbirds here today. So a little bit different than their usual birds of prey that they bring. So it'll be fun to see the different birds that they bring in today. So that's today, which is Saturday, between 11:30 and 1:30. Wild Wings will be here, and we're open until 6 o'clock tonight with all of your gifts for mom and all kinds of birdie stuff for these migratory birds. So we'll just hop right in it. So we are definitely right in the middle of spring migration. It's an awesome time of year. You never know what's going to pop up in your backyard or while you're out and about in nature. This month, where I am in Western New York here, it is not uncommon to see up to 238 different species in the area. Some are sticking around for the whole summer. Some of them are just passing through. A lot of them are migrating in from Central and South America. So this is a really exciting time of the year with lots of new and different birds coming through the area. So that being said, here's some migratory maps from Birdcast, some predictions of what the migration is going to look like over the next couple days. It's been a little slow, it seems like, with new sightings. For me personally, there's been some storms. So there's still some stuff rolling in, but it looks like the storm's delayed it a little bit in my area. That could be why maybe some of these birds are kind of hanging around a little bit longer than usual. But you can see in the Midwest, there is a lot of migration happening there. And what's exciting is the night of May 11th, so Sunday going into Monday, there's going to be a real big uptick in migration where I am on the East Coast here, and a lot of things coming through that night of May 12th. So Monday going into Tuesday, which is really exciting because we are doing a bird walk also on the morning of May 13th, which is next Tuesday morning. And it looks like there's going to be a lot of migration activity that evening and the evening before. So really excited about that. If you are local to the area, definitely come on out for the bird walk. That's going to be Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. out at Whitehaven Park. Really excited about that. Lots and lots of migrants coming through. But let's talk about them. Let's talk about some of those migratory birds, and definitely put in the comments what kind of things you're seeing, because it is all over the place. It is all across the board. I've had some brown thrasher in my backyard. I've had a hermit thrush was just hanging out under my car the other day when I was leaving for work. Here's what we're getting lots of reports about: white-crowned sparrows. This picture was sent in by Walter. We posted it on our Facebook and Instagram. And Carol had a comment. She said, yes, I had this little guy yesterday. Notice how different his striped head was. He gobbled down quite a bit of food. Time for more to bring him back. These sparrows you'll tend to see on the ground underneath your feeders, and they will eat sunflower seeds. They'll eat millet. They'll eat sunflower hearts. So white-crowned sparrows are bigger than your regular common house sparrow. They're very gray in color, and then they have that bright black and white crown, black and white striping on the top of their head. So lots of reports of white-crowned sparrow. I am hearing them every morning. As when I wake up, they are just singing their hearts out. And these pictures by Mark, he sent these in. He says flocks of white-crowned and white-throated sparrows, quite the backyard variety. And so that's the white crowned sparrow, very gray in color, quite large. But then there's also been lots of white-throated sparrows around, and they can look like this with that very distinctive black and white striping on the top of their head, and then that yellow dot in between their bill and eye. And a lot of the times they do have a bright white patch on their throat. There is a different color, more of a different color variety where they're very brown in color. If you get a picture of those of that type, definitely send it in and we'll share it. But they're not always this strikingly bright, so they can be a little deceiving as far as their color goes. But this was a picture sent in by Suze, who says first one at my feeders, and this is another white-throated sparrow. So there's been lots and lots and lots of them reported. And the grosbeaks continue with people, the rose-breasted grosbeaks coming to backyards. You guys are reporting a lot of them, and they're just sticking around longer than usual. It seems like usually they're around for a couple days with most people, maybe a few days, and then they move on. They're still being reported by lots and lots of people. This is a rose-breasted grosbeak couple here, sent in by Stephanie. Randy sent in this picture of a rose-breasted grosbeak. Interestingly enough, at a suet feeder. And then this is what it looks like in my backyard. This is the kind of thing they're going for in my backyard, the safflower logs. I love keeping these out this time of the year because the safflower doesn't get eaten as fast as the other seed, and the grosbeaks absolutely love it. The cardinals love it. I have house finches like crazy that are feeding from it. So they definitely love the safflower seed. And because the other birds don't eat it as quickly, it's always there for them. So here's some pictures from Edward. There's the male, that with the black and white male with that bright, bright red breast. And then this is the female with a little white stripe over her eye. And here she is at the squirrel buster feeder. Looks like maybe eating some of the chickadee blend or the cardinal blend. But lots of rose-breasted grosbeaks around too. So it'll be interesting to see if they kind of eventually move on or if they stick around and stay here this summer to breed and raise their young. So here's some photos of the rose-breasted grosbeak that Mark sent in. Here's the male and the female there. And so lots of them around. And oh yeah, he sent in this video here too, again at a suet feeder, which is pretty interesting. So normally you'll see them at your seed feeders, but it's not totally surprising to see them at the suet this time of the year. They're hungry for migration. That suet has a lot of fat in it, and so they need to replenish from their migration from down south up to here. And then this is another cool photo sent in by Mark. He says, I've been having a flock of pine siskin at my finch feeder too. And this is a great picture because it shows not only the goldfinch at the top of the feeder, but then these at the bottom are all pine siskin. They're very stripy. They've got a little bit of a yellow wash on them. They have a really, really sharp bill, so you might get them at your Niger feeders as well. And another thing to keep an eye out for, we are getting reports of indigo buntings coming to feeders. This is the time of the year where we tend to hear that. Indigo buntings will come to sunflower seed feeders. They'll also come to Niger feeders. So be on the lookout for indigo bunting as well. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous bird. And then, of course, the Orioles are here. And a great place to look for them if you're out on a walk is any kind of blooming tree. They'll be drinking the nectar from these blooms. They'll eat the insects that are attracted to these blooms. You can hear the high-pitched whistle of the Orioles. Sometimes you can hear them before you see them. That's usually the case for me. This photo was sent in by Ed, who says, can't find this hummingbird in my field guide. Seems a little bigger than the others. And to my eye, that throat isn't really ruby colored either. This guy was all over the place after visiting the jelly feeder. He frantically went to the tube seed feeders, the Niger feeder, the peanut feeder, and then finally the Hummer feeder. I'm thinking he's experiencing an identity crisis. So Ed sent in this photo here of an Oriole trying to, looks like, get some nectar out of the hummingbird feeder, which can be difficult for them because usually the ports of the hummingbird feeders are smaller than the Oriole feeders are. So it can be hard for the Orioles to get their beak deep inside that feeder in order to get the nectar. So if you're seeing something like this and you're seeing the Orioles trying to get to your hummingbird feeders, might be best to get a nectar feeder that is suitable for the Orioles, but they do love nectar. They'll drink that. They will eat the grape jelly, and of course they'll eat the halves of oranges. So you can slice oranges in half to feed them that too. And here's a couple videos that Mark sent in of the Oriole. This one just kind of hanging out in a tree, chirping a little bit. Giving his little chatter. Not the usual high-pitched whistle. So bright orange male. And then here is another Oriole here at the feeder. So I can play that here. And you can see the weather guard in action here too. We've been getting a good amount of rain the past few days, although it's starting to clear up. And you can see how that weather guard can really help to keep that jelly dry for the Orioles. So lots of Orioles being reported. You can attract them with jelly and also nectar. We've got ready to use nectar. You can make your own using sugar and water. The recipe for Oriole nectar is 1 part sugar to 5 parts water, but you can also just use your hummingbird nectar in your Oriole feeder too. That recipe is 1 part sugar to 4 parts water. You might also see things like gray catbirds coming to your Oriole feeder. They are definitely around. I had 2 catbirds at my Oriole feeder the other day. I couldn't believe it. Never seen 2 at the same time at my feeders, but they're definitely around, and they are coming to the Oriole feeders as well. Definitely getting reports of hummingbirds back to the area too. They're hungry for migration, coming to the Oriole feeders, and as the summer goes on and more plants are in bloom, they will come to any kind of red tubular plants. Anything that produces a lot of nectar is great for the hummingbirds. So they are back. I saw my first one on Wednesday, not at a feeder, but while I was out looking for warblers, I came across a hummingbird. So you never know what you'll see out there. But getting to some more of the migrants and especially warblers coming through. Before diving into the warblers, I also like to mention scarlet tanager. Had a customer this week who has gotten scarlet tanager coming to their bird feeder that has sunflower hearts in it. So we do hear that every once in a while, especially early migration time. So right now is the time where we'll hear these reports of birds like scarlet tanager, sometimes even warblers coming to feeders, especially if they have sunflower hearts or if they have mealworms out. Mealworms is another thing you can put out to attract some of these migratory birds. So I got a report this week of a scarlet tanager at a feeder, which is really cool. So they're rolling back into the area, and this is their breeding ground. We're in their breeding range, and they have been migrating up here from further down south in the U.S. as well as down in South America. So they are flowing back into the upper part of Eastern North America. It's a really gorgeous bird. They're quite large. The males are bright red with that dark wing, and then the females are more of an olive color with darkish wings and tail. So the males are very striking. Females aren't nearly as bright, but really neat bird coming into the area. Talking about warblers, there's a huge warbler diversity that we get through the area. We can find over 30 species of them while they're here in migration and during migration season. And there are different things you can do to attract them. How do you know if you have warblers? Mark had this message that he sent us. He says, I've been using my Merlin ID and 4 different warblers popped up. Crazy what's in your backyard. So that's one way you can tell if you even have any in your yard, which you probably do. They're probably passing through. Don't be surprised if you start to see them popping up. I just had a notification this morning of a Wilson's warbler in my backyard. I've been getting notifications of all kinds of different warblers coming through. So it's really cool to see what kind of birds are popping through. And I'll show you some of the different ones we do have in the area. If you want to attract them to your yard, it can't hurt to have some kind of a water feature, especially one with moving water. So if you have a bird bath, you can make your bird bath a water feature, a moving water feature, by using one of these solar fountain kits. It's got a solar panel on the top, and it's connected to a pump. And when the sun hits it, it'll make the water spray out like a fountain, or it comes with little different tips that you can have it be a little bubbler. So having moving water can really, really help bring in some of these migrating birds. Not all birds will come to feeders or nest in houses, but they all need water. So water is great, especially moving water. They are attracted to the sight and sound. These solar kits are really popular, but we also have some plug-in ones too that can turn your bird bath into some kind of a fountain. And case in point, here's a picture that Michelle had sent in of some warblers coming to, looks like a little water feature in her yard. So some little Cape May warblers there. But here are some of the warblers that come through the area. This isn't going to be every single species because there are so many, but just to give you an idea of the diversity. And this is just one group of the migratory birds that are coming through. So not only are new warblers coming through, but there's new thrushes coming through. There's vireos coming through, the scarlet tanager, the indigo buntings. But let's focus on the warblers today. And the first one is the ovenbird, and you can tend to find them in the woods. They almost look like a little bit of a thrush, or thrush-like, but they're going to be smaller than a thrush. They have a call that sounds like teacher, teacher, teacher. You can often find them foraging on the forest floor. They're named for their nest, which looks like an old-fashioned oven. And I'll show you a picture of that coming up too. They're larger than the average warbler, but they're going to be smaller than a thrush. Their tail is often cocked upwards. So not only can you sometimes identify these birds by how they look, by their plumage, but also their behaviors can really dictate what they are, especially if they're high up in a tree, or in this case with this bird, you're likely to see it on the ground. So that is a good indication that you've got yourself an ovenbird. They're an olive green, kind of brownish color. They do have a white eye ring, so a white line around their eyes. They're very spotted, and their legs are pink. So that is the ovenbird. They also, if you can see it at the right angle, they have a black and orange stripes on the top of their head. So they've got an orange kind of patch on the top of their head, and it's outlined by two black stripes. So that is the ovenbird, and this is an ovenbird sitting in its nest right there. A few years ago, I had one just pop in a tree right in front of me in my front yard, and it looked at me and I looked at it, and then it just flew away. So they're around, they're migrating in. This is the ovenbird. And then there's the northern water thrush. I saw one of these this past week. It was really exciting, hanging out by the water like its name would suggest. And this is a bird you are likely to see by the water. They forage at the edge of still water, and that's where I happen to see it, in kind of a boggy kind of spot. They eat aquatic insects. They'll eat small amphibians, and this is a bird that will bob the rear of its body. So that's another way you can identify the bird, is it was bobbing its tail up and down. So it was bobbing around in the water. Looks similar to a thrush. It has very long legs. So especially in the picture on the right here, you can see it's really, really long legs, which makes sense if it's by the water. Sometimes it'll be kind of wading in the water a little bit. They're heavily streaked, and they have a buffy eyebrow, really distinctive buffy eyebrow. And they will sometimes have quite a yellowish wash to it, like this one here does on the left. And the one I saw the other day had that as well. So this is the northern water thrush. Look for it by some water. And then these are some of the birds you'll see hopping around in the treetops, hopping around in by flowering trees. If you see little birds hopping up all around, you're probably seeing lots of warblers, or it could be kinglets this time of the year too. But let's get into some of the warblers here. There is the golden winged warbler. You can see how that gets its name. It's got that little golden patch on its wing, very silvery in color, has a gold on the head and the wings. It has a black throat and mask, and it's a slim bird with a sharp bill, the golden winged warbler. There's also a blue winged warbler, and that is a mostly yellow warbler in color with a small pointed black bill, which kind of transcends into a black eye line, and it has bluish wings with two wing bars. It's blue-winged warbler. Now this is a pretty distinctive one, and this is one you might see in your yard too, especially because they are known to crawl around the sides of trees, just kind of like a nuthatch will or the brown creeper. This is the black and white warbler. They are black and white striped. There's not another warbler that looks quite like this, not another bird around here that looks quite like this. The males have a black ear patch. They have a really squeaky call, but look for them on the sides of trees. So if you're familiar with how a nuthatch forages on the sides of trees, the black and white warbler will do the same. So if you see something stripy like this on the side of a tree, you got yourself a black and white warbler. So this is the male here, and then that's the female. Definitely around. I saw my first one last week of those as well. This is a kind of a nondescript warbler, the Tennessee warbler. They're small with a short tail. They have a very thin, pointy bill, yellowish, greenish color above and whitish below on its breast. They have a gray cap on the top of their head, if you can happen to see the top of their head. They have a very pale eyebrow, so right above their eye, really, really pale. No strong wing bars, but this is the Tennessee warbler. There's also an orange-crowned warbler that has a little orange crown if you can happen upon the top of its head and happen to see it. They are yellow olive in color. They have a very faint eye line. So you can see in the picture here, there's a little eye line, but really, really faint. This is very hard to see when they're popping around in trees, hopping around. There's rarely any sign of the orange crown too, which can make it difficult to identify. They have what's called a broken eye ring. If you look closely at its eye, that white circle or whitish circle that goes around its eye isn't totally complete, so it is a broken eye ring. But look for that really thin, pointy bill and that yellow olive in color, not any kind of bright coloration at all on that orange-crowned warbler. And then there's the Nashville warbler, which has a very yellow belly, and it has a gray head. And sometimes you can see that crown patch, which is kind of a chestnut reddish color. This was first seen in Nashville. That's what gave it its name. But they do have a pretty bright white ring around the eye. So that's a good way to identify the Nashville warbler. Interesting fact about them, they'll use porcupine quills as nesting material, which does not sound comfortable at all. But this is your Nashville warbler. They are also flowing through. The mourning warbler is a pretty cool looking one. It looks like it's got kind of a hood on the top of its head. This is going to be a larger, chunky warbler. It has a gray hood. It's got some black on its chest with yellow underneath, and it doesn't have any kind of wing bars or eye rings. It's a mourning warbler, just like the mourning dove, spelled the same way. Common yellowthroat. I've been seeing a couple of them bopping around. You can see how they get their name. They have a bright yellow throat. And the males will have a really, really distinctive black mask. So that is a fantastic way to identify them. That black mask, yellow throat. They also have quite a long tail, and it's usually kind of angled up like this. The females don't have the black mask, but you can see they still do have that bright yellow throat. So that is the common yellow throat. We'll be here all summer long. Here's the female here, a better look at her. And then hooded warbler. So you can see how they got their name, at least the males. Looks like they're wearing a little hood. They have a bright yellow face, but then a black hood surrounding that yellow. They are an olive color and have a very yellow belly, the hooded warbler. So you can see there's a lot of yellowish warblers. So not all warblers that are yellow warblers. There is a yellow warbler, which we'll see coming up, but lots of yellowish and kind of olive colored warblers that we've got here. But the American redstart looks quite a bit different. The male is black with bright orange spots. So if you see something bright orange, it might not be an Oriole, especially if it's looking kind of small. The American redstart we definitely have here, medium-sized warbler. They have a wide, flat bill, if you can get your binoculars focused on it long enough. But they have a long, expressive tail that they will flick quite a bit. They're mostly black with bright orange patches. Females don't have those bright orange patches, but they're yellow in the spots where the males are orange. So American redstart, definitely flowing through the area. I see them, if you're local to the area, Thousand Acre Swamp, they nest there. I see them there almost every time I go this season, this time of the year, this time of the season. And here's the female. Again, you can see she's got those yellowish patches where the male has orange. Here's a Cape May warbler, gorgeous warbler here. They have a very short tail, a thin bill. They have a chestnut little cheek patch, and they're very streaked. So they have black streaks on a yellow breast. Beautiful bird, the Cape May warbler. And here's the female. Doesn't have that chestnut cheek patch. So you can see there's quite a diversity of these little guys rolling through. So you can see why people get so excited about migration season. This is a bird that has always eluded me, and to this day still has. The cerulean warbler is a sky blue warbler. They're often seen with a horizontal posture. They have 2 white wing bars, dark streaking on their back, and the females have a whitish eyebrow. A really good place locally to go to see cerulean warbler is Montezuma. They have a pretty good population of them. They're also seen around Cobb's Hill, so they are around. They have just always eluded me, but not this one, not the northern parula. I've been seeing a good amount of northern parula this year. They're a kind of a bluish grayish warbler with an olive yellow patch on the back. They have a bright yellow throat and breast. And if you can see it, they also have a little chestnut, black and chestnut band on their breast. And they have not an eye ring, but eye crescents. So a little white above the eye and below the eye. And the northern parula, I had one calling in my backyard this week. It was being picked up on Merlin. Mark sent in this photo. It says, I spotted a northern parula in my backyard. And he's not the only one. Other people have gotten northern parula in their backyard, even coming to their Oriole feeders. This picture was sent in a couple years ago by Lisa B., who had a northern parula just hanging out here, going to the jelly feeders and eating the jelly and oranges. So you never know what'll pop in. This is a neat little warbler, and not so little actually. This is the magnolia warbler. It has a long tail, and it almost looks like it's wearing a necklace, and then that has streaks that go down from that black streaking from its neck to breast, that black necklace, and it has a black tipped tail. This looks similar to the yellow rumped warbler in a lot of ways, but it has a very, very yellow breast and that black streaking which goes down its body, which the yellow rumped warbler does not have. So this is the magnolia warbler. Just rolling into town, we've got the bay-breasted warbler, not yellowish at all. It's a bulky warbler with a black face and cream-colored neck patch and very chestnut-colored crown and sides. Looks a lot different than a lot of these other warblers that we're going over, so easy to identify there. This is my favorite, not that that matters. This is the Blackburnian warbler, small warbler with a brilliant, brilliant orange throat and face. It has a black crown and a little triangular ear patch, little patch right here in the shape of a triangle. Beautiful bird, the Blackburnian warbler. This is one you're likely to see, even if you're not trying to find warblers. If you're just going out on a walk, if you're walking down the canal or anything like that, listen for the yellow warbler. Turn on your Merlin ID, and you'll hear some calling. I can almost guarantee that. They are around all summer. They call all summer long. If you are playing with Merlin in your backyard, wouldn't be surprised if you pick one up today. This is a bird, small bird with a round head. They have a very black eye, a stout bill, and a lot of them have chestnut streaks on their breast. Yellow warbler, usually seen perched on the top of a tree or shrub, singing its little heart out. So then there's also the chestnut-sided warbler, has a yellow patch on the top of its head and some chestnut patches on its side. It's a stocky bird. Its tail is often held above its wings, which you can see in this photo here. They have that black mask and the yellow crown and chestnut sides. The black pole warbler. So we saw the black and white warbler before. This one looks more like a chickadee almost. It does have some streaking on it, but the males have that black patch on the top of their head. So this is a warbler that has a short tail, small thin bill. The males have that black cap. They have the streaking on on their body. They also have a very white cheek. They both have that, both the male and female. But one of the most distinguishing characteristics, if you're trying to figure out if you've got yourself a black-polled warbler or a black and white warbler, is look at the feet. They have those bright, bright orange legs. And you're most likely to see a black and white warbler, but there are definitely black-polled warblers around. And that's the female. You can see those bright orange feet. There's been lots of reports lately of black-throated blue warbler. They are definitely rolling in. Another cool looking bird here. They're fairly large. They have a very blue head, black throat and face, white square on the wings. And this is another bird, if you go out looking for warblers today, you'll probably stumble across a black-throated blue warbler. So this is another bird that we've had reports of coming to Oriole feeders here and there. So especially it seems like if birds are rolling in and then the weather gets cold, it all of a sudden we have a cold spell. It seems like the insects maybe aren't flying around as much, and then all of a sudden black-throated blue warblers are showing up in people's backyards coming to feeders. Been seeing a ton of these guys this year. It seems like it's been a good year for palm warblers. This is a pretty large warbler. They've got a rusty cap on the top of their head, very round belly. And the palm warbler is another one that will bob its tail quite a bit. So that's one way to identify it. Even if it's way up at the top of the tree, you can sometimes see that tail bopping up and down. So be on the lookout for palm warbler. I've been seeing them in a lot of swampy kind of areas. So they are definitely here. Been probably seen just as many palm warblers as yellow warblers this year so far. Pine warblers sometimes will come to people's feeders this time of the year. They're seed feeders. So we do get photos sent in every once in a while going, what is this bird? I don't think it's a goldfinch. Pine warblers are eating sunflower hearts. They'll eat mealworms. So just like those scarlet tanagers that'll sometimes eat the sunflower hearts, same as these guys. The pine warbler, they have the large stout bill. They have yellow throat, yellow olivish back, a broken yellow eye ring, and then they've got those wing bars too, those two wing bars, which help identify them. So pine warbler, you never know. People have been, we had a customer send in a photo of one at their window feeder, so wasn't even being shy. Now this is probably the most common warbler around. This is the one you're most likely to see if you're going out looking for warblers. You'll probably pick them up in your backyard as well if you're using the Merlin Sound ID. So don't be surprised if you see some yellow warblers and yellow-rumped warblers. These are great ones to learn because there's so many of them, and they're quite diverse throughout the whole U.S. So they're called yellow-rumped warblers because they have that little yellow patch on their rump. Got a little bit of yellow on their sides. They've got yellow on the top of their heads. And sometimes people call them butterbutts because they do have that little yellow rump patch. But really common bird here, they have that black mask. They have a white throat, and then they have yellow patches on the sides and rump. So earlier I showed you the magnolia warbler, which had that kind of black mask, but they have a yellow breast and all that streaking. But lots of yellow-rumped warblers around. So a really good one to learn and an easy one to learn because there's a lot out there for you to look at. There's a black-throated green warbler. They are flowing in. They have a bright yellow face, black throat, greenish kind of back, and then black and white streaking on the sides of their body. They're also coming in. I had a Merlin pick up one in my backyard this past week, which is really cool. I couldn't get eyes on it, but I could hear it singing its little song. There's also a Canada warbler, which has a long tail, very bold eye ring, a black necklace, and a yellow breast. So another bird to be on the lookout for. This bird was picked up on my haiku box this morning. I got a notification that a Wilson's warbler had been heard. So this is a really, really yellow, olivish colored bird with that black cap on the top of its head. Really small with a little thin bill and a black eye. So that's not every single warbler that we have coming through the area, but that's the usual cast of characters of who you can find if you go out now looking for the birds. Really common ones that you'll probably see are going to be that yellow-rumped warbler, the yellow warbler, and that black-throated blue warbler. Lots of people have been reporting that, but there's so many out there. Who knows what you'll see? Let us know. Absolutely keep us posted. If you snap some photos, send them into us. And these are some good places to go if you are local to the Rochester area. Great places to go to look for some of these warblers. I went here the other evening to Island Cottage, or not Island Cottage Woods. I was at the Firehouse Woods the other day, different woods, but this is another great place to look for warblers. Island Cottage Woods Preserve. It's a Genesee Land Trust property. You can look it up. Great place to go birding during migration season, as well as Firehouse Woods. And again, if you are local to the area, Rochester Birding Association has been having Warbler Wednesdays or Wednesday evening warblers events, which started this past week, and they are happening every Wednesday in the month of March. You can meet at the parking lot for Firehouse Woods, which is at the Lakeview Community Church. You can always park there. If you're going birding, the church allows birders to park there. And so you can park at Lakeview Community Church. And right in that parking lot, there's lots of trees in that parking lot along the back side of it. That's a good place to look for warblers. And then there are trails that lead right from that parking lot that are a really good place to look for warblers, and you can go across the street, and then there's another area there that can be a good patch for warblers too. It's really muddy, so make sure you wear boots, but this is a great place to go during migration season. If you're not totally sure where to go, meet up there this Wednesday at 6 p.m. with Rochester Birding Association, and you can take a walk around with some experienced birders. If they hear a little chirp or cheep, they know exactly what it is, and they can get your eyes on some of these migratory birds. And then another wonderful place to go, Cobb's Hill in Washington Grove, which is a wooded section of Cobb's Hill. Fabulous place to go for warblers this time of the year. So lots of things are being spotted, not just birds. Butterflies are starting to come out. Things like red admiral, be on the lookout for. This is a pretty common butterfly that we get in the spring. You'll start to see them. Mourning cloaks, they hibernate as an adult butterfly. So they're really some of the first butterflies that come out once the weather starts to warm up, because they don't need to undergo any of their metamorphosis process. They are just adults and they start to fly around. So be on the lookout for mourning cloak. I've seen a couple of them out so far this year. Dark butterfly with blue spots, and their wings are they're bordered in kind of like a yellowish color. So mourning cloaks are out there. And of course, the cabbage white, probably the most common butterfly you will see no matter where you are in the US here. Super, super common bird. So that was a lot of birds. Thank you for hanging in there if you watched the whole thing. There's lots of warblers around, but not even just the warblers. There's lots of migrants just visiting people's backyards. So I would highly suggest making sure you've got yourself some safflower or some kind of a mix that's good for cardinals that would have the black oil sunflower seed in it. That will not only, of course, attract cardinals all the time, but those rose-breasted grosbeaks that are visiting people's yards and just kind of hanging around. And then definitely have some kind of a mix that has sunflower seed in it as well, to get those sparrows, the white-throated sparrows, white-crowned sparrows. They seem to really be liking the sunflower hearts that are coming out of my my bird feeders. And they're just hanging around. I've had them for probably 2 weeks in my backyard. I can't believe it. Usually they're there a couple days and then they leave. And then jelly for the Orioles, nectar for the hummingbirds, all of that. And be on the lookout for indigo bunting. Keep those finch feeders full, because you might just get yourself an indigo bunting pass through. Super curious about what kind of things you guys are hearing on your Merlin app. So put those in the comments. Love to know what kind of birds you're seeing and hearing. If you're local, join me on Tuesday for a bird walk over at Whitehaven. We'll be looking for every one of these warblers as well as the other migratory birds in the area. And definitely stop on in today for Mother's Day. You can shop in store, you can shop online even for local pickup. We even do local delivery. So stop in. We're fully stocked for Mother's Day. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.